The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to success, enhance our skills, and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we've initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Rich JavaScript Applications, Building Large-Scale Applications Using JavaScript. Our guest speaker for today is Prabhuraj Mugi. He's a Senior Member Technical Staff at Nest Technologies. Prabhuraj works as a Senior Member Technical Staff at Nest Technologies and is a web developer involved in developing web applications with cutting-edge tools and technologies. He has been working with Microsoft.NET Technologies on investment banking and e-commerce domain. In his recent stint, he has worked on the client-heavy applications using technologies such as HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, Ajax, jQuery, MVC, JavaScript, etc. His passions include reading, blogging, and creative works. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Prabhuraj.
Thank you, Deepika. Dear friends, this is Mr. Prabhuraj Mugi, working as Senior Member Technical Staff in Nest Technologies for Nest Software Engineering Services. In close to a decade stint in IT, I have been working on .NET technologies. To be specific, it is ASP.NET. So I was developing a lot of web applications as well. So typically web applications having HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. And my recent interests have led me to explore further more on the meme stack. Meme stack is nothing but MongoDB, ExpressWeb, new JavaScript framework called AngularJS, and then with Node.js as the backend thing. So with this experience, I'm just going to share my knowledge on rich JavaScript applications. So let's start with a welcome screen. I think you all had a sumptuous lunch and feeling a little bit sleepy, and then most probably I will have to wake you up. And let me start with a classic JavaScript alert and tell you that the session has started. With that, I'm just showing it something like in the past when we have all started working, this was the most used feature of the JavaScript. So while debugging application or anything, if you want to show some alert or you want to show some of the debugging messages, this was the most used feature of JavaScript. This is how all the JavaScript started. And I think most of us who have worked on JavaScript applications in the past would know about this better. Maybe probably whoever has started recently, they would not know about this. With this, let's start our journey into the rich applications. So today's topic is rich JavaScript application, as you all know. Let me walk you through the agenda. First one is what? So you heard about rich JavaScript application. So you want to know what is rich JavaScript application, right? So without knowing that, how will we start? So that's what we are going to cover in what. So probably all of you have heard about rich internet applications. You might be thinking that why this guy is talking about the rich JavaScript applications. So we will just understand what are rich JavaScript applications, why not rich internet applications. That's what is going to be covered in this section. Next, we will look at some technology trends to understand that what kind of a framework is doing well, and then we will just see which framework is most talked about in the industry and all. So we will just see some of the parameters which are making sure that okay, this technology is the hot cake in the market. Next, we will see what to choose, because you would have heard about a lot of technologies, and then you will be thinking that what to choose among those technologies. We will see that, as well as we will see like what application we can build with rich JavaScript applications. So that is what we are going to cover in what to choose section. Now, Once you chose what you are going to build and then what technology you are going to use, let me show you how to build it. What are the parameters or the points to be considered to develop an application like this? So let's cover that. And in this, I'm going to show you 3 small, simple examples in Knockout.js, Backbone.js, and as well as Angular.js. And I'm going to cover one exclusively developed simple web application developed with a rich user interface with Angular.js that is mostly like the main stack. So let's start with that. And obviously, like though I covered all these questions, but you might have still some more questions to be asked. So let's cover that in the question section. So let's start our journey into rich JavaScript applications. So what are rich JavaScript applications? Is the application generating a lot of revenue is a rich JavaScript application? Probably not, because it's not how it is measured. So we will understand few parameters, what are the key considerations for considering an application to be a rich JavaScript application or a rich internet application. So let's look at the first parameter, which is user experience. So when you think of a user experience, right, when we were doing some user experience study for some of the e-commerce websites, we came to know that if you have a search box and then you don't have any button as such, and then you just provide that search button, text box, maybe a geek would know that, okay, after entering enter button, using the enter button, you will be able to search. But same will not be the case with a common man. So if you give the same screen to a common man, he will be searching for a submit button, search button, or a OK button. That's where the user experience comes into picture. So you will have to provide such a good user experience which even common man can understand, and even geeks love it, who are very much accommodated, who are very accustomed to the web applications and all. So that is where the user experience does matter. So if you are providing a very good user experience, that is one of the parameters. And then in the user experience, you have to think about quick response also, because you are providing an application which should be responding properly. It should be like a. So if you just think an HTML form and it is taking forever to load, then it's not a good experience. And then that's what is going to be the parameter as user experience. Now let's look at the next parameter, that is interaction. So if you are developing an application as close to as desktop application, so you are building a web application but you are providing the interaction capabilities like a desktop application, then that is called a rich JavaScript application or rich internet application. This is the most used parameter for applications. So typically we will go with a SPA, which is like a single page application. We will have to have a single page application, and with all Ajax operations and all, you can make it look like a desktop application, and then that's how it goes. So next, let us look at the third parameter, which is view. So what kind of a view you are going to provide? Obviously, all of us know that we are using a lot of smartphones nowadays and tablets nowadays. So you never know which of the user device is being used to show see your web application. So it's out in the market and the web available. So your people will be browsing the site with a smartphone or tablet. So you should be having such a layout which will support even mobile, tablet, or anything. That's where the typically people are nowadays talking about the responsive web design. That's all going to be there in this. So if you are accommodating all that, then that will be a rich application. Now let's look at next parameter, which is information. Yeah, you provided a rich application, but you don't have any information in that. What is the use of that application? You should be having a good information for the user. So when you have a lot of data in a single page and then a lot of data is scrolled down and then you have to scroll down and understand the data, then that is also not good. So in those cases, it's better to have good information represented well. So let's look at the last parameter, which is like visualization and manipulation. So Rather than having a table of a data, if you represent the same thing in a chart, like a bar chart or the pie chart, that makes really very good sense, and then user will be able to understand it very quickly. So that's where the richness comes into picture. So if you are providing a heat map for certain data, then that will make sense. So if you are providing all these options, all these parameters, then that is the key consideration for rich application. So if you are building this application with JavaScript, that is what is the rich JavaScript application. So in just an application providing rich user experience, high interactivity, having flexible view and enough information represented visually, that is called rich JavaScript application. Let's look at the next section. Why not rich internet applications? Yeah, obviously everybody knows about the rich internet applications, right? So why we are talking about rich JavaScript applications? So let's understand that. So you have heard the web is already having a Flash and Flex available, which will provide a very good richness already. So, but Flash and Flex applications need a Flash player to be installed in the browser, which is not a de facto thing available in the browser. So then that is a hindrance. For example, if you are browsing your site with an iPhone, probably it is not supported there, then you will have you will be losing some of the users which are not who are not able to see your rich application. So obviously that is not a choice for us. Let's look at Silverlight. Silverlight is having less adoption, though it is Microsoft application which has been there for a long time. It is also providing a very good richer UI, but still it's not that adopted by a lot of users. So you will have to again have that as installed application. So you will have again problems with that. So if you are thinking of internet application, that would be suitable. But yeah, let's look at the web applications. What we are talking about. When you are talking about web, JavaScript has a lot of frameworks available nowadays. So a lot of frameworks after jQuery, I think most of the JavaScript things are happening, and then a lot of JavaScript frameworks are available. The availability of such rich JavaScript applications which are providing rich UI, animation capabilities and all makes sense for us. And third thing is WG standard. This is like web standard. You cannot think of any website nowadays without JavaScript and without Ajax, without jQuery nowadays. So it's a web standard as such. So if you are using a web standard which is available for all the browsers and all the users, then your target users will be more. So then that makes sense for you. So that is what we are targeting today, and that's why we are saying not rich internet application, build your rich internet application with JavaScript. That's what is our rich JavaScript application. Yeah, I'm talking about rich JavaScript a lot, but yeah, it may be not providing a full visual ID support or vector graphics and all, but nowadays with the animation capabilities and all available with JavaScript, it is really very good. Now let's move on to the next section, where I will just have a list of some of the JavaScript libraries and frameworks available. One of them, this is just a few JavaScript frameworks and libraries available. I'm not giving the exhaustive list here. I'm just covering few things here. One of them is AngularJS. Next one is Backbone.js and Knockout.js, Batman.js, and Ember.js, and you have Can.js, and we have Metro.js available, and we have Pine.js, and then most loved JavaScript library, jQuery. Okay, these are all a few of the JavaScript libraries and frameworks available. But this is not the exact list. I'm just covering few of the JavaScript libraries over here. So we will next look at a few of the libraries in or JavaScript frameworks available in this, and then in the subsequent sections. Next, let's move on to the next section. This is about the trends. So if you want to evaluate about the technology, right, you have to understand what is the trend, what is hot cake in the market. To understand such things, Google Trends is just a parameter which will provide you some insights into the market, what is being searched about. So I just did research about AngularJS, Knockout.js, Backbone.js, and then Ember.js and Batman.js, and this is what I can see. And you can see clearly like the AngularJS is having a lot of searches, and then it is far ahead between among these all technologies. And Knockout.js and Backbone.js are just going hand in hand. And Ember.js is also a very good framework, but it's just same there. So this is the trend. Let's look at trends regional wise. Regionally, India is having a lot of interest. So regionally, like India is having a lot of interest on AngularJS. Obviously, it makes sense because a lot of technology companies and then techie guys are available in India, and they were searching, so it makes sense. So that's where we are seeing. Next, we will see at technology trends in with what all they are searching, related searches, what they are searching for. If you just see AngularJS tutorial, example, bootstrap with AngularJS, this is what they are searching. It means they are trying to search and then understand and learn these technologies. So that's where the trend is. So this gives a good trend for us, and then Angular is making a big move here. So let's move on to the next section. Let us see some popularity among these actual libraries and frameworks. I have just covered a few libraries here which are available in GitHub. And GitHub has some functionality, something like a start, which was available even earlier as watcher. So these are the numbers which are available in bracket are the GitHub watchers. It means to say that, okay, people are interested in development of these technologies, and clearly you can see that AngularJS is most having most stars, and then next to jQuery, and then Metro and all other things. And then even Ember and other technologies are also having good watchers. So once we saw all these technologies, right, now we will see, now we know anyway the technologies. Now we will see like what we can build with the Rich JavaScript application. I'm not saying that everything should be built on Rich JavaScript application. If you're building an e-commerce application, which is then obviously like you'll have to think through a lot. So in those cases, like let us look at a few things which can be built using Rich JavaScript application. Some of the data-driven applications, like a product catalog or product configurators, can be built using Rich JavaScript application. When I am talking about product configurators, right? So I will be covering one of the e-commerce use case in my subsequent section about the same thing, such a application. And productivity applications such as like online image editing, online text editors, and modeling tools. So if you are providing Adobe kind of a tool online where red eye corrections of an image, adding cropping an image, any such application, if you want to build it, then Rich JavaScript application is the way to go, and then it will provide a very good platform. And next, edutainment. Edutainment is nothing but education plus entertainment, and then it's combined is edutainment. In edutainment applications, like typically for small kids, like kids, if they are learning some small learning applications which are like showing some alphabets and then icons and all everything. So that will be like very good, right? If you are providing some richness over there, some edutainment applications can be built using Rich JavaScript. So that is where these things. So when I'm saying about these things, I'm reiterating one of the product configurator where like e-commerce use case we are going to cover in the subsequent section. That will be interesting. Let me move on to the next section. Oh, what am I seeing there? Oh, this is like a warning. I just want to check like all you guys are awake. This is Firebug warn. So I think we just saw initially a JavaScript alert. Now we are seeing a Firebug warning. So most used thing in Firefox is a Firebug, which is the most handy thing for JavaScript developer. Where I think in the earlier days we used to have all alerts in the application and then see how to debug. But now we have typical plugins like this. Firebug is one of them. And then you will be just doing console log, console warn, and all. You will be able to see the errors and all other things. So I'm just checking you are all awake. I'm just talking a lot of history. I'm going to cover next. Let's move on to the next section. So now we will see how to build the rich JavaScript application. Now we saw what we can build and all those things, right? How to build the JavaScript application. First, think of model-driven development. So separation of business logic with the implementation is the best way to go. So you should have a proper model design, and then your view and then your presentation logic should be separate, and your navigation, routing and all should be provided there, and then your business logic should be sitting at a services level. You can have it as like an API or a service, and then you should be realizing it. So separation of the concern is the major thing, and then model-driven development is the way to go. And then when you are thinking about building JavaScript application, think about a very good JavaScript framework. But you can still build with the JavaScript, classic JavaScript also, but why invent the wheel? So when the applications are available, when the frameworks are available, which are ready, which are having a lot of animation capabilities, all what you need is a good framework. So consider it's up to you like what you want to choose. I will just cover that also in the subsequent section, but if it is up to you that what framework you want to choose, but choose the best framework which is supporting you and then supports better for you, and then with the ease of implementation, you can go ahead with that. And then when you're choosing the framework, you just think about the flexibility and then adaptability for that framework, and which should be easy to understand, and then even making some small changes and all, it should be easy in that framework. It should not be like a very rocket science to again do that. So then in that case, a framework will be better. So now let's move on to the next section. I'll just say like a few design patterns. So you should think about JavaScript, right? And then you're thinking about some design patterns also to be considered. I'm just showing here model view controller and model view model. So what is model view controller? So in model view controller, the data lives in model. The data is available in your model, and HTML used in a tiny template called view. That is where your HTML is going to be there. And now who is going to combine these two? That is what is controller. Controller is going to get the data from model and then show it in view, and then it will act as a bridge between them. So that is what is the controller. So this is what is model view controller kind of an implementation. That's one of the design pattern. Now another thing is model view model. So model view model is specifically targeted at the user interface development, where like view consists of a presentation layer, and view model contains some presentation logic. Okay, and model contains our business logic. So model will be having business logic as well, and then it will make a two-way binding easier, and then frameworks as AngularJS thrive from it. AngularJS is providing this thing. And we have some more patterns like MVP, so model view presenter. And nowadays people are even talking about MVW, which is like a model view, whatever. So that's where the people are talking about that model view, and then whatever it is, then it should be provided, and AngularJS is providing similar capabilities. Now let's look at next section. So here I'm going to cover some of the points to be considered for building a large-scale application. So you're talking about JavaScript application. You have to think about large-scale application. Then what are the points you should be considering? Choose the right framework. All these slides I was explaining about the frameworks, right? You choose the right framework which is best for you. If you are ready to make an architectural change, or you are building an application from the scratch, framework is the better thing to go. But if you are already having an architecture, you don't want to change anything in that, then a library is better to go. So library will fit into your application. A framework will provide you an extensive guide, and then full-fledged application style, exactly like a full framework will be available, and then you will have to build according to those framework considerations and all. So you choose whatever you want, like a framework or a library according to your need. Next, we should be thinking of having a very good content delivery network. Why? Because you are talking about a lot of things to be running at the client side. you are pushing a lot of things to the client side. You're not running everything on the server. So content delivery network makes sense. If you are geographically wide coverage available, and then your users are geographically like widely available, then it makes sense to have a CDN. So you can think of having your own CDN network, or else like choose some third-party CDNs like Akamai, which will be providing very good facilities and all. And then even your JavaScript will not be loaded frequently, and then it will be getting cached at the client side, and it will make sense for user, which will provide a faster application load and all other things. And then it will be again another parameter of a rich JavaScript application, right? It makes sense. So choose a very good CDN. Next, let's set up a version thing for a JavaScript. So when you are building application, right, you have something like a version in your JavaScript URLs and all. It makes sense because you're talking about CDN, and then already one of the version of your JavaScript is cached at the user level, and you build something new and then you push it. So user is seeing with the old JavaScript, your thing will be broken. Your application will be broken, which is not good, right? So think of a very good version, the capabilities, and then you can set up like that. So that is one more point to be considered. Next, use on-demand, like on need basis load kind of a framework, something like require.js, which will load JavaScript on the need basis. So if you are having a module which requires 3 JavaScripts to be loaded, when that module comes into picture, then only require.js makes that those JavaScript files are loaded. Choose that, or else you go for aggregation and minification. So where all your JavaScript files, you can aggregate them as one URL, and then you can have the minification to minify them, and then like your bytes will be less, which will be like downloaded by the user, and then that kind of a thing you can use. So even Grunt or YUI compressors are providing all those functionalities. You can think of that. I personally choose aggregation and minification better, and then you can still have require.js also. Now set up a proper URL routing mechanism. So URL routing mechanism is very important because you want to maintain the history and then allow users to bookmark. Though you are providing a single page application, but bookmarking is very important because people are going to be using bookmark. So set up a proper URL mechanism. Then set up a proper unit testing framework. You are building a client-heavy application. You are depending on all JavaScript. You need to test that and set up a proper unit testing framework. You can think of having a JS test driver or else like a func unit for testing your JavaScript. And Karma and Jasmine are the JavaScript unit testing frameworks available for AngularJS, which will work better with them. So you can think of having unit testing framework. Next, obviously, this is most required thing. Set up a continuous integration. You can use Jenkins or Quick Control and set up an integration environment, and then you will be able to run with it. So now we are in a comparison stage. So we saw that AngularJS is most popular, Knockout.js is popular, and the Backbone.js is popular, and I just chose these frameworks. It's not that you should be choosing the same framework, but I just chose for my convenience, and I just like these things. That's where I chose the AngularJS, Knockout.js, and Backbone.js. So I will be covering simple applications with these technologies. So you just see like AngularJS is a full-fledged framework. It uses DOM and HTML templating, provides routing, proper separation like controllers, services, and directives, etc. So if you are ready for an architecture change, AngularJS kind of a framework will be better. I chose AngularJS. Okay. Next one is Knockout.js. Knockout.js is a data binding library. It's not a full-fledged framework, but very easy to implement, and it fits into existing architecture. So if you are having already an existing architecture and then you want to build on top of that, then Knockout.js is the way to go. If you want a proper framework built with Knockout.js, then you can think of having Durandal.js, which is like jQuery, Knockout.js, and Require.js combined framework, which is also good. But I just chose it as a library here. So let's look at that also. And then Backbone.js. Backbone.js is not exactly a library and not exactly a framework, but it is a lightweight framework, which is fast, and it has a small memory footprint, and it can be used as a library or else like a framework also. And it has few dependencies like underscore templating things and all, which will increase your load thing. But any which way, even Backbone.js is also like having a good memory footprint, and it is good. Okay, now we came to the last leg of the our session, where I'll be covering 3 simple examples in AngularJS, Knockout.js, and Backbone.js. I just used JSFiddle.net. JSFiddle.net for everybody's understanding. I'll just say that JSFiddle.net provides a user interface where you will be able to show your HTML, CSS, and all other things, and you will be able to edit them in the UI itself, and then see the output as and when there. And then you can share the things, so which will be provided by JSFiddle. And I created a Fiddle for Angular Knockout.js. I'm not showing you a hello world example, okay? I'm just showing you a little bit more than that, but these are all the simple examples. After that, we will be covering application. Sample application which I'm going to cover will be with a meme stack, which is like a Mongo, Express Web, and then Angular.js, and then Node.js as the backend. So I chose Bootstrap for styling and all the things, and then Node.js will be working as a service API and the backend operation. So Jade will be used as template for Node.js, but we'll be using typical HTML templates as well. So that kind of a sample application also I'm going to cover, which will be an e-commerce use case. Let's talk about that later. Let us look at fiddles of small examples of this thing. So okay, let us look at AngularJS sample. So this is what is the AngularJS sample. So on first section you are seeing the HTML. So this is what is my HTML. This is what is my JavaScript. Next section is the JavaScript section, and third one is the CSS. I'm not adding a lot of CSS here. My aim is to show you the JavaScript. So if you look at this application, right, typically simple HTML here, and you will be having the AngularJS attributes, which are like ng app. ng app will specify that, okay, this is using Angular, and then Angular will take control of that. So that is where you have to show that ng app, which is, I am saying that sample app over there. And ng controller is also very important attribute, which will tell about the controller which you are going to utilize for this section. So you will be specifying the controller you are using, and then all options, and then ng submit. So it will be like telling like on submit of this form what has to be called and all other things. It will be available in this HTML. So if you see this HTML, right, you are able to understand it very well. So you know that, okay, there is an add to function, and it is there in the item control, and then this is used by the sample application, and then you have all the list items available here. The items will be repeated as the li is nothing but list items. So it's very easy to understand. With a view of HTML itself, you will come to know that what it is doing. So that is a good feature, right? So you will be able to understand the application very quickly. But if think of having the same application built on jQuery kind of a library. So you'll be having a lot of binding and all other things. So you'll have to understand like what class is used, where the class is used, or is it bound with a class or ID. So you'll be having typically a problem with understanding that. So that is where, so this will be more verbose, and then it will make application easier to understand. So if anybody is starting their application, understanding the application on scratch, so they will be able to easily understand. So that is a very good thing for all of us. So here is the item control. Item control is having scope. So AngularJS usually works with the scope, and then I'm assigning items here, Angular, Knockout, Backbone, and all. So add to function will add an item, whatever I'm going to type over here, and then I'm binding the sample application with the control, and then control is going to be with the sample application. Let's see what it is going to do. I am going to add jQuery as a new item. So when I add a jQuery as new item, it just got added to the list. Simple application which will show the binding. Two-way binding is available here, so you can see that okay, as soon as I typed the thing, and then my items list changed immediately. That got changed. This is just a simple application of Angular. Let's look at the same example with Knockout.js, how it is built in Knockout. So let's see the Knockout thing. Again, Knockout is having HTML here, and then that's the first section. Second section is having JavaScript. Here this is pretty much similar. So in Knockout also you can see there are some attributes like data bind, which is saying that okay, on submit what has to happen, like add item or what function you are going to call on submit. And in the input also you are having data bind options. So as I said, Knockout is a data binding library. It provides a very good option for Knockout data binding. So this is where you are seeing that value item add is nothing but you are going to add an item to that, then it will be taken from that input, and then that will be added into your items list. So if you look at the list view model over here, we will make it as like a ko.observable. When you say ko.observable, it is bound with that, and then when you type item value, and that will be taken, and then it will be added to the thing. So ko.apply bindings will make sure that okay, this model is available with the Knockout. So here I am adding three simple things, again similar to what example we saw earlier. If I add a new item, again let us see, again we will add a jQuery only here also, and then say add, again it got added. So you can add more items as well. So whatever you want, you can keep adding that. So it's also simple example with Knockout. Let's look at the same thing with Backbone.js. So here is Backbone.js. Backbone.js, we are utilizing jQuery. So jQuery also is utilized for binding here actually with the Backbone.js, and we are using underscore templates. So if you see the UI HTML, right? HTML is having just input and then button. We are not having any attributes as such here. So we will be binding them with the JavaScript over here. So in Backbone, like whatever collection or anything you are creating, right, you will have to always extend with the Backbone thing, like backbone.collection.extend, what I am doing here. So backbone.collection.extend. Similarly, like my view also I had to extend it with Backbone, like backbone.view.extend. So in collection, I am providing options like add, and then where item will be added, and then model will be rendered. So it will initialize, and add item function is available here, and same input whatever available here using JavaScript thing here, like dollar input, that is jQuery. We're using jQuery, we are just reading that, and then adding it to the list, and then rendering the UI. So I'm adding few items here initially, and then same thing is available. Let's add a few more items here. Add jQuery again. And then add it. So you can see jQuery getting added. You can add any more items also. You can add. So these are all simple JavaScript applications. Let's look at a nice, rich application. So are you ready for that application? Okay, let's start our application. I'm using Node.js, so that's the reason I have to start the Node application here. I started the Node application. Now let's see the application. Oh, am I showing the same? Okay. Now we are seeing the rich JavaScript application. So this is a sample application exclusively developed for this demo, where I'm showing some richness with AngularJS. We are using Jade and all other template engines. Oh, am I showing only the lists over here? No, I'm just going to show you some product catalog as well. Let's look at the product catalog. So typical e-commerce use case, you are seeing all the products available here. So you can browse through. So all products available here. These are all products like which are posters, which is with the frame, and then people who want to buy this want to see them in the room. So that's the reason we'll be providing that capability. So this is just a product catalog. Let's look at what all rooms available. These are all the rooms available. So what we will do is, in these rooms, we will show you the products, and then make you to choose what kind of a item you want to choose, or what kind of a product you want to choose. So that will be like very good for you to make a selection, right? Let's go back to products catalog, and let us see this van in room. Now we are seeing room. This is a 3D room. 3D carousel has been used here. So your product, whatever you have chosen, is available in the room. So you are able to see the room over here. If you see on the right hand section where configurations are available, so where we are showing a lot of rooms available, so we are showcasing them. So if you see, we can choose whichever room we want. Assume that I will just loop through different rooms, and then I choose one of the room. I clicked on right hand section, I selected the room, and then same room is available over here. And I will move my poster to the center of the room and see how it looks like. This is what is the interaction capabilities what we are providing in a rich UI. So now I'm seeing that, okay, this product is a small product. So now can I increase the size? Okay, right hand side I'm having a range control. You can see in the configuration section. I'm going to increase the size of this frame and this particular product, and then resize it and see it in my room. It looks good. So then I may probably go and buy it. Let me think, okay, I will try different products. So here is a carousel at the, like on the bottom section where I'm showing a lot of products, right? You can scroll through different products over there. I just clicked on scroll, and then I'm seeing different products. I like this red maroon color car. Let's see. Oh, this looks good. Maybe a maroon color car in, I have a room which is like a maroon color room. Let me see it in that room. So let me see that. Okay, I will browse through different rooms over here. This is like a 3D transition. 3D transition available. And I am in a maroon room over here. And I will resize my product and see how it looks like. This looks good. I think probably it suits my room, so I'm going to buy this product. So this is how you can provide a lot of user interface capabilities. So here is the product what you are choosing, and then let me show you how this application is built. I'll just quickly show you how this application is there in the code. So I'll move on to that. I use typically like Visual Studio because I came from a .NET background. You can use any of the things, like you can use Sublime or any editor, but I'm familiar with Visual Studio, so that's why I'm using Visual Studio. You can choose anything. This is how folder structure of my sample, and this is my Node.js app. So if you see, I just clicked on the app. So you see right hand side here my Node.js app. So I'm just highlighting two of the routes I'm providing over here, which are like one is the API route and one is the default route. And in the default route, I will be loading my default application with Jade template. So that's where it is. And then the API will be providing other capabilities. So let us look at the Jade template here that is there in the view. So I'm opening a layout. So if you look at layout, I have included a lot of JavaScript libraries. So I just highlighted those JavaScript libraries and all. I'm using Angular NMA, and then Angular routing capabilities and all other things. These are the main JavaScript things which we are using with AngularJS. Separation of concern, like you are having separate things like services, control, and app. So this is my basic layout, and index.jade contains just a div which is having ngview directive, which will say that okay, where your HTML is going to be available. And let's look at your once we have all these things, right? Let's look at the different routes available. So in API. So in the API routing with the Node.js, I'm using Mongoose for MongoDB. I have stored these products and then rooms in MongoDB, and then I'm using Mongoose. I have defined two models. I will show you the models. One is the product model. So I'm showing a product model over there. So this is the product model, symbol, title, and image. I don't want to show it a complex model or anything. That's why I just have a product model with title and image. Next one is a room name, and then image is there. This is just for the Mongoose. The same model is used by Node.js, and here using Mongoose, we are filling the room. If you can see here, I just highlighted the code where I'm filling the room using Mongoose. And then the rooms will be given as a JSON in the JSON format to the UI. Now let us look at actual Angular application. This is what is my Angular application. So here is the app. I'm specifying all the dependencies. See, this is the interesting thing. AngularJS provides the dependency injection capabilities as well, right? So that's where these all are injected as dependencies for that AngularJS. And then factory. Factory is providing like a service. Service I am implementing it as the factory. So in the factory fashion. So this is providing so same API, like just Node.js API code, whatever I shown to you, same thing I am exposing it as a product API service over here. And here are a lot of controls I am using. One is application control, which is the master control, and next one I have main control, main room control, rooms control, and then products control, model instance control, and all other things. And then I'm having all my routing available here. So in my application, I have transitions to different sections, right? So for that, I'm showing I'm having rules over here. So if you're building a application, you can move this whole routing into one configuration section, and then you can have it. So if I go with a room or rooms, then it will be like loaded these templates. So let us look at those templates. Those are partial templates. This is the main template where we showed shown you a lot of points, and then let us look at products. This is just a list of products available here. So this is the product template. Next one is room template. This is where we are using small Angular carousel. If you look at the Angular carousel, this is where the Angular carousel we are using, the 3D kind of a carousel. And then configuration section, we are using another carousel. That carousel is from the Bootstrap carousel. I am using Bootstrap because it provides a very good CSS capabilities and also my UI looks good. And here is the next thing which I am using some slide the below section where we showed a lot of products that is available here, all the functionality available here. next thing is I think if you look at the controller, I'll just show you one of the controller where like my code is main room controller. We are loading using product API service. Here I'm getting all the rooms. I have highlighted the code. You can see that using product API service, I am getting all the rooms and I'm adding to the scopes and I'm loading that. So this is the thing, and then I'm using some directives. If you look at my app over here, I'm using one of the directive, custom directive drag model. That is what is my sample is having as a draggable model. So I'm opening the application now. So this drag model, whatever you are seeing, is an Angular directive. So I started my session with JavaScript, classic JavaScript alert, and I tried to check whether you are all awake with a console warning in Firebug. Now I will end the application, my session with the application div pop-up, nice div pop-up, saying that session has come to an end, and then we are open for questions. So, yeah, Deepika, we are open for the questions now.
Thank you, Prabhuraj.
Yeah.
Thank you for the insightful presentation. We can start taking up the sessions now. I could request you to read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to the commendable insights.
Okay. So let's go through the questions here. I'm just taking a few questions over here. Are W3 standards followed likewise on the browser based on cross-platform like Linux, Solaris, Mac, etc.? I think definitely W3 standards are going to be maintained, and then these all JavaScript frameworks are providing capabilities with different browsers. Typically, like frameworks like JavaScript and all will be having problems with different browsers. So Firefox, Chrome being used it's the most used browser nowadays, like 60-65% of people are using Chrome, and then Firefox has the most, next most used browser. So browser capabilities and all are available, so AngularJS is supporting all that. Internet Explorer is to an extent, but I think it's good. We will take next question here. What are the pros and cons of Node.js? I think Node.js is providing event-based mechanism, and then it's very good. Like it is again supported by Google, and then it's a single-threaded model, and then it can take a lot of load. And then if you are having a non-relationship model, and then like MongoDB, if you are using MongoDB and then you are just throwing all your data into typical JSON files, then with MongoDB it will work better. And if you want to use some Socket.io programming, and then you want to show some live things like a something like trickling models and all something, then in that case Node.js helps you in better. And then obviously everybody is talking about the mean framework nowadays, right? Like how we used to talk about the LAMP sometime back, like Linux, Apache, and then MySQL, and then PHP sometime back. Now people are talking about the mean framework, where MongoDB, AngularJS, and Express Web with Node.js. So it makes sense to have that one. So which JavaScript framework is easy to use? Next question. So I'm not advocating on specific JavaScript framework over here. It depends on your use cases. So if you are ready for an architectural change, obviously you can choose a full-fledged framework like AngularJS, or you can go for even Knockout.js with other facilities which is like Durandal.js. So Durandal.js is based on Knockout.js, which is having jQuery plus require.js plus knockout.js combined as a Durandal.js. You can think of that also. But I personally chose AngularJS because it is supported by Google. It's backed by Google actually, and then it's most widely used, as you saw in trending things, and then even in my GitHub numbers and all other things, most of the watchers are watching Angular. So that way I just chose that one. But you can think of anything. Even you can think of Backbone.js also because it is lightweight. So I can just say to you in a way you can understand, like Backbone will be like a lifesaver jacket, and Knockout.js is something like a your surfboard with a motor. So your faster thing can be built in Knockout.js. But if you are thinking of a full-fledged framework like AngularJS, it is like a cruise ship for you. So somebody had mentioned this thing in their blog, which makes sense to me as well. So Backbone.js will be like your life-saving jacket, and then Knockout will be like your surfboard with a motor which is faster, and AngularJS is providing all the capabilities and luxuries, which is like a cruise ship for you. What are the constraints to reduce the loading time at the client side? There are no constraints as such, only like you'll have to think about some frameworks like require.js, which can load on the need basis, where like on the need basis, like what JavaScript you want to load, and then or else like you can think of having a minification. So if you are loading a lot of JavaScript, so you can combine them, because if you are having a lot of requests to the browser, the server, typically like there will be constraints on parallel requests from a browser. So that's the reason you can think of aggregation of the files and then minification, and choose a proper CDN. If you are not having your own CDN, you can think of having some third-party tools, third-party providers like Akamai, and then implement with that. So that is okay. That will be very good. Yeah, just one more question. Like, how did you implement 3D view? I just used one of the Angular JS module, which is like a Angular carousel. I just used that carousel module, and that carousel module is providing a 3D transitions, which is with the CSS3. So I just used that, and 3D view is very nice. So it will provide a rich experience, and then it will add a lot of richness to the application, right? So that's why I chose that one. It provided the 3D view. Next question is, can you explain when to choose Angular, Backbone, and Knockout? Yeah, obviously I already explained it to you. Like when you want to build an application from the scratch, or when you want to, you are okay with the architectural changes, then you can think of a full-fledged framework, which is like AngularJS. As I said again, Knockout.js with a Durandal.js, so you can use that. And if you want to have a small, you want to use existing architecture and small changes to the thing, then you can think of using a library, which is like a Knockout.js library or even Backbone.js thing. Next question is, so what are some of the resources from where I can learn Angular? I suggest if you search for AngularJS, you will have plenty of things. But I can suggest you can even think of reading some books like Pro AngularJS by Adam Freeman. It's a Ahrefs publisher's book. Or you can even think of another book which is like a O'Reilly publisher's book, which is like S. Brandgreen is the author for that. So you can think of Ahrefs publisher's book or O'Reilly book. Or else you can go to the tutorials of AngularJS. There also you will find plenty of tutorials. But I suggest you to go with one of the website, which is like www.todomvc.com, which is like providing different frameworks, application, like they are providing one application built like to-do application built with different frameworks where you can understand like how different frameworks differ in a way. Then you will understand like about the applications as well there. Next question, I'm taking next question. Do you have advice on developing line of business application using one of the JavaScript framework? How do we integrate .NET application with one of the .NET framework? Yeah, I think any e-commerce application building, as I showed one of the example, right? You can think of using that. So if you are planning for a .NET application, then you can think of a web API. I had tried with web API as well, but I just wanted to show the mean stack application, so I just showed it to you. So you can go for web API, Microsoft .NET web API, and then you can just replace Node.js Express Web with web API. So web API will provide the facility, so you can think of that, and web API will be acting as your API service and utilize that. And then a typical Angular JS can be used with that. So you can use .NET applications, .NET framework as well. Next question is which framework is best suited for data visualization in rich responsive web application? You can think of D3.js. D3.js nowadays with Hadoop and then big data applications and all, they are thinking about D3.js thing where it provides a lot of capabilities like charting capabilities and heat map kind of things and all. So if you want to provide a lot of data visualization, right, you can go for a D3.js like library or a framework. Actually library, it is a library, you can use that D3.js. And obviously like AngularJS is also supporting a lot of things. It is having some of the directives such as like NG next and all. With that typical CSS3 if you are having, then you are having HTML5 things, HTML5 controls and all, you will be able to visualize the data very well. You can even think of telerik controls as well. So a few questions we covered here. Okay. So I'm just looking for more questions. So one more question is like, what would you suggest would be a good JS framework for mobile devices and all? Specifically, if you are targeting for mobile devices and all, you can think of which is having a small memory footprint like Backbone.js and all, which will be loading faster. But there is nothing specific like mobile device platform or anything. I'm using Bootstrap with AngularJS, where Bootstrap provides you a lot of responsive web capabilities. So I'm using Angular UI with Bootstrap. So if you just search for Angular UI with Bootstrap, you will see that how responsive web things can be provided. They typically use media queries, I think. Using media queries to be like a responsive web. So if you are using Bootstrap with AngularJS, you can still think of AngularJS as a framework and utilize it with that. I think that's what we have as the questions. Deepika, you want to take the control?
Sure. Thank you, Prabhuraj. I'm really thankful to our guest speaker, Prabhuraj, today for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session.
Yeah.
I would also like to thank you so much. I would also like to thank all our participants for making this support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgeek.com shortly. Thank you all.
Thank you. Great.